MV3 Traders Futures Trade Radio is brought to you by The Ultimate Trader's Guide, your one-stop shop for the most valuable income-producing information on the internet. Go to ultimatetradersguide.net to learn more. Link in the description below.
Order filled. Order filled. Order filled.
MV3 Traders Futures Trade Radio is brought to you by the Ultimate Trader's Guide, your one-stop shop for the most valuable income-producing information on the internet. Go to ultimatetradersguide.net to learn more. Link in the description below. Oops. All right, what's going on? What's going on? How's everybody doing? Hope everybody had a good weekend. Sound chat's coming through good. Had a little delayed or extended halftime there. My computer's lagging a little bit, so I had to, kind of close some things down and get some of my numbers and stuff early, so I could kind of go minimal this morning for the second half of the stream. So had an interesting open so far. This weird, well, I'm not gonna call it weird, maybe not even put that kind of energy on it, but this abnormal, that's more of a accurate term, came in at 945. That I didn't see any that came in off of like no economic news or anything, nothing that I'm tracking, and that just so happened to be the one trade that I took today. But because of the momentum out, and I was able to, react to it quickly, I had to go to my risk management side of my strategy, and I actually ended up making some money on it. So it should have been a loser, but just staying aware with my awareness and everything, I actually ended up taking away a little bit of profit off of it. And there was another one that I was supposed to be in, where I started initially noticing my PC issues. Is I was like right before that, we had a supply response around like 941 that I was supposed to execute off of. I had my trigger and I took the trigger, but I didn't get any sort of response in terms of me being filled by anything. So so that happened. And other than that, I was just being patient this morning and just exercising patience. So overall, for me personally, it was a good morning. I followed my plan and I executed like I was supposed to. Risk in getting caught inside of the budgeting and having to flip the board over with range orders to get out of this mess. Yep, just a perspective. Yep. See, I saw that one. I took the supply response too, but it's that's the key to it. It kind of fits a lot into what I'm planning to talk about this morning. But before we get to all of that, I do want to mention that part of my PC problems this morning is probably because I was doing a lot of work last night and I didn't do a restart. I was thinking to restart my computer, and I actually didn't do it. Actually, I didn't think about restarting it until this morning. It was kind of too late at that point. So just to restart everything and to clear the cache and any processes that could be going on, just get that out of the RAM and all that stuff, right? I would, after all the things that I was doing last night, because I recorded a video yesterday, and I have a video that I'm trying to post up today. That I'm going deeper into detail about cutting your losses quickly, right? So that's pretty much the announcement this morning, where I'm just be on the lookout for the video that I'm supposed to be releasing. Hopefully I get it out today. I still got a few more things to do, but then I stayed up kind of late last night, getting all of the, primary editing done. So just an announcement. Let's see, there was something else I was thinking I wanted to talk about this morning, but it escapes my mind. So anyway, so far what we're looking at in the market today, or with NQ anyway, is that throughout the session, they've been holding us inside of this range, and they're still holding us inside of this range. Well, actually, we're starting to break to the low end of that range with a little bit of momentum. And we'll see, we just broke below the session low. So we'll see if we can hold it. It's currently in a state of retest, or at an inventory response. We're getting an inventory response right below the overnight session low. But before all of that, where all of the interesting things that has happened so far this morning, we were being held inside of the session opened up in a wide range, right? We had some early momentum long that created a wide, what I call the NZ spread, right? And from that point, that kind of set the stage for what we've seen so far up until like the recent last couple of minutes. And the price was being held between my indicators of PR -1 and PR 50. But right before that happened, we did kind of dip below PR -1. That gave me my trade bias. So that's why I was trading mostly the supply side this morning. And I was being patient to look for the triggers that I wanted to be a part of in that, from the supply perspective, right? I got several triggers, but I wanted to be patient and see if I could identify the best setups. The first one that I was supposed to be responding to, that I actually did respond to, but my computer didn't want to respond as well. That was the best actual setup I had for the day, so I did good there. And then we got that momentum out of nowhere, where I actually ended up being able to benefit from it. So that's what we're looking at this morning, and we've kind of, since I've set that last little piece, we went back to automation. We're getting a supply response at automation inside of the overnight session range. So it'll be interesting to see where we go from here. As of right now, the print is painting the picture of that they're going to take this to lower prices, and only time will tell if, exactly why they print it, for us to be able to see why they are printing it that way. So with all that being said, I want to kind of talk about morning routines this morning, which, with all the sequence of events that happened for me this morning and everything that I just kind of went through in terms of like my PC issues and all that stuff, I think everything kind of lined up, aligned together pretty smoothly there. And I got this topic idea from a podcast, Real Life Trading. Go ahead and shout them out. This is one of their recent podcasts, and it kind of triggered, today's trader triggers. I think it's a good topic to talk about, because that's a big part of what I do, right? And that's a big part of my success up to this point. And it took me, so a lot of my journey to get to where I am today, a lot of it has to do with me and spending time on the charts and adjusting my strategy and all that. But a bigger part of it, maybe I ain't gonna say bigger part of it, but another big portion of it has to do with me fine tuning how I show up every day. To how I show up every day to my desk, right, or to this business of trading. And so your morning routine I would say it starts the night before, right? So we can start it from there. So we'll start it from me, where the morning routine starts, and how I'll give it from my perspective, how I progress throughout the rest of the rest of my trading session, right? So your morning routine starts from the night before, and so I gotta make sure that I'm prepared and I have my computer set up and I have my, everything set up so that when I come to my desk in the morning, that all I got to do is sit down and execute, right? So, and then part of that is with the strategy. So with my strategy, I've baked in so much, I've coded my strategy so much to where a lot of different scenarios are already baked into my strategy. So all I got to do is show up and execute. I don't have to sit down and wonder too much about what they're trying to do or what's going on, or what's happening in the news, or what politician is saying what and all that stuff. The way that I've defined my strategy, the way that I've developed my strategy, is I've baked all of that into it to where if all I need to do, like I said before, is show up and execute as the strategy is designed for me to execute, even to the point of where I decide to if I'm going to be long or short for that time period, right? So that's your morning routine also has a lot to do with your strategy, right? And what you're trading. So with me, a big part of it is also sleep. So with my schedule and with me trading futures, is one of the reasons why I stuck to trading futures, is because I can, it fits whatever schedule that I have. And since I do have a 9 to 5 and I work nights, it's not so easy for me to go to sleep early, right? So most of the time I go to sleep around, somewhere between 2:30 and 3 a.m. in the morning, 3 a.m. Eastern time, right? And with that being said, it can be a struggle or a challenge sometimes for me to get up when I want to get up. So I always get up on time, but I want to get up a little bit early so I can have plenty of time for any issues that happens, right? Any issues that arise, I can get up on time and address those and still have plenty of time to go through the rest of my routine. So, getting sleep and making sure you kind of get up, and making sure you get up on time, or getting sleep so that you can get on time, is a huge part of the morning routine. And this is why I say your morning routine starts at night before, when you're preparing for the day. And also with that, what I'll do is I'll set all my charts up and everything. And then I'll make sure that, I have an awareness to any kind of economic events or, all of that stuff. So that I can minimize, the amount of things that I have to do, understanding that I'm probably not going to go to sleep super early just because of how my schedule works out. But I do need to be up sort of early to be ready for the 0930 open, right? So that's, that side of it, the preparation in terms of the night before and your sleep and all that stuff, right? So another part of my morning routine is I want to make sure that I show up to my desk in as neutral as I can possibly be, right? So with that being said, this is one reason why I try not to, I'm not gonna say I don't, I try not to, mess around with social media. I kind of get set up to look at social media because I post out my power range report, which is also part of my morning routine in terms of my awareness, right? So I do my power range report and I post that to my social media platforms. One, to share my perspective, but also as a way of getting and making sure I stay consistent to having an awareness before I show up. So I'm not just coming straight to my desk and sitting down and trying to decide what's going on. No, as soon as I get up, the first thing that I do is I get that power range report. I look at the charts to see what's going on, what happened overnight. And not necessarily to feel any type of way about it. I don't care what happened. As long as the market is open and transactions are being transacted, so to speak. That's all I care about. And, I'm not going to have any feelings towards what happened as much as I can, as I can, right? Like sometimes when we had a small, sometimes when the session opens up within a small range and we hold that until and through the London session, and I go to sleep with that, and then I wake up and I see we picked up some volatility, a lot of volatility, especially if it's directional. There can be a tendency, right? I'm human. There can be a tendency for me to have an emotional response to that. But at the end of the day, going back to my strategy already addresses whatever emotional response. So I know that where I'm supposed to be trading, I know which direction I'm supposed to be trading, and that's defined by my strategy, not by what I feel about what happened overnight or before I showed up, to place my first trade. Right. All right. So let me get back on track. I kind of went off on a little rant there or a kind of a tangent there. But where did I leave off? So okay. So when I wake up in the morning, right? So the first thing I'm doing is I'm getting awareness to what's going on. And again, that's designed by my plan in order to put out the power range report, right? So the whole point of this is to be neutral, okay? So then I'll get up and I'll go through my little, my little personal stuff, right? And some things that I do is I have routines that I set up to make sure I'm, to practice that consistency. So like I have a light that I turn on, I make sure I turn that on. That's already getting me in the right state to be consistent, setting me up to be consistent for the day, right? Another thing that I like to do is I like to go through a little breathing routine. Sometimes that ends up being a full meditation, or I may even stretch inside of that, do a little bit of yoga. But the goal is to breathe, right, and to control my breath, which is going to affect my awareness, which is going to affect how neutral I show up, my emotions, my emotional state, how I show up to conduct my business of trading. So to keep me track on all of this stuff, right? This is what I have my journal for, or the journal that I share online. Inside of that journal is a checklist, and I have everything that I have to do right before I can place a single trade inside of that checklist, right? So that's the second part of me staying consistent. It's sort of forces me to practice consistency, because before I go to sleep, before I step away from my desk to close out my day, at night, what I'll do is I'll leave that journal up. So the first thing I see when I come to my desk is I see that journal, and I got to go through that checklist so I can minimize that journal and I can start trading, right? So, these are just some things that I go through to make sure that I'm staying consistent and that I'm showing up consistent. Let me say that again. These are some things that I have set up inside of my plan to make sure that I'm staying consistent and I'm showing up as neutral as I possibly can, right? I don't know if I mentioned before, but I don't watch any news. I don't watch any podcasts. I don't, watch any funny clips anywhere, or anything else on like YouTube, or I don't read any articles. I don't do none of that before I start trading, right? The only thing that I'll do is I will play some music, but the music is more so I play frequency music, right? Or I play music that's designed to help me stay in a calm, relaxed, neutral state, right? And so all of this plays into me showing up and how I show up to conduct my business. Now, is it a perfect system? Absolutely not. Sometimes, even if I can do all the things, I still may get emotionally triggered into doing something. I may, step out, at the end of the day, we're humans, nothing's going to be 100% foolproof. We're bound to make mistakes, right? So I make those mistakes from time to time, but for the most point, everything that I go through inside of my morning routine helps keep me on track and keep me, showing up the way that I need to show up so I can execute how I need to execute. And the biggest part of that for me, in my opinion, is the consistency, and also showing up in a neutral state to where I'm not getting, I'm not succumbing to my emotional triggers. If I would have just woke up and then just came to the charts and started trying to place trades automatic, before I even did anything else, right? I know some people, they also like to work out. They like to do their workout, and a lot of the stuff is going to depend on your schedule. So actually, I would prefer to work out before to doing some exercise before I trade. I actually like working out. That's another thing that helps me. It helps. We know what exercise does, right? I don't have to go through all of that, but it just doesn't fit my schedule to exercise before I trade, right? So, that's kind of why I started implementing the breathing exercises that I go through before I show up. So that's an alternative to what I would get when I exercise. Now, if I wanted to if I just needed to exercise before I can have a clear mind and be neutral, then I could actually trade something else, right? Or I could go to swing trading, or I could go to I could trade futures at a later time, right? I don't have to trade it during the time that I trade it. I just like this time period. I like the open. I like the movement during the open. And that's just over time what I've come to discover, the prime time for me to step up and execute. Another thing that I make sure to do is how do I want to approach this one? So I don't drink any coffee or anything like that, So I make sure that I need my water. So I drink water in the mornings. I want to make sure I have my water with me. So I make sure I get all that stuff before I come to my desk. But what I don't do is I don't drink coffee or anything with caffeine like that. I drink tea, but I drink sometimes, every once in a while, I may drink some tea with caffeine, but I drink the no caffeine tea, and that's really like for taste. That's the any other benefits is subjective, and that can be up for debate. But the main reason that I drink tea in the morning is for the taste. But that's beside the point. So yeah, I make sure that I don't drink any caffeine. The reason why I don't do that is because me being aware to my body, I notice how caffeine, like I don't get excited or like what a lot of people, it doesn't give me energy, but I do feel the effect, and that effect, I don't want to bring that into my trading, right? So like what you normally hear people saying is the reason why they drink coffee, I don't get that benefit from coffee. Mostly I drink coffee for taste, but there is still an effect that I can feel just being awareness to my body, that I don't want to bring that inside of my trading. So I make sure I don't drink anything like that. And then I don't drink sodas and stuff like that anyway. So the only thing that I will drink in terms of only thing that I will put inside of my body before I show up to trade, I think this also has a lot to do with the part of me being neutral as I show up in this business, is I lost what I was going to say. Trying to over explain, I end up losing what I was going to say. But anyway, man, what was I going to say? It was good too. But yeah, so I don't do that just as an awareness to my how my body responds to certain things, right? And another thing in terms of distractions, so this is a huge one also. One thing that I'll do is the main thing that I will do is I will turn my phone on do not disturb, right? So, and the only people that can get a notification through my phone is the most important people, and I just keep that in case of emergencies, so I don't have to, that's that psychological thing again. So I can put my phone completely on silence, turn it off, whatever. But, things happen. And I don't want to, give myself any excuses to be concerned about something important, something happening and me missing out on that because I'm trying to trade, right? Something significant happening to a loved one or something like that, and me missing out on the trade, right? So I will allow those messages to come through, right? It's like it's through on vibrate mode or whatever. Just in case any emergencies come up, I don't have to be concerned about it while I'm trading. I know I'll get those messages, right? But at the same time, all of those people, that will be able to send a message to me during that time, they know I've had a discussion with them. They know to not disturb me during that time period. And I only trade an hour a day, so I don't think that's too big of an ask. Just give me a little bit of space Monday through Friday for that 1 hour, and then it can be up from there, right? So also with that, like I said, being in a 1-bedroom apartment, that's, I'm living in a 1-bedroom apartment just to be minimal, right? The disturbance part can be a big challenge, right? Because, I have my wife here and she can't stop her life just because I'm trading, right? And I have to understand that. So, trying to be focused while she's doing certain things, around my environment. She's respectful with it, right? She's not just, in here going crazy and making all kind of noise and what I'm saying, like doing all kind of things that is going to distract me. But if she needs to do something, she has to go do it. So I just try to, we have that agreement to where she respects what I'm doing during this time period, and then if she has to do something, it's just on me to make sure that I don't get distracted by that, right? But she's not going to come to me unless it's an absolute emergency, taking my attention away from what I'm here to do, right? So I'm kind of, I'm just blessed in that way to have my wife to where she understands, what I'm doing in that way, right? And then also there can be outside noises and outside things going on. So like if there's some maintenance that needs to happen and I know about it, well, they tell us about it before it happens, right? Then if there's a maintenance that's going on during my trading time, or even on the day, they may not say what time they're going to come, right? I won't trade until they do that maintenance, right? So if that means that I have to miss the 1 day of trading, that's fine. I'll miss a day of trading just so I don't get disturbed when I'm trying to trade, right? That also feeds back into being neutral. If you know that there's someone that's going to come and it's going to distract you, it's going to be hard to be neutral in that because you're thinking about, them coming and distracting you possibly in the middle of a trade. And that's just going to mess with, for me personally, that's just going to mess with your focus, right? Let me keep it to me. That's going to mess with my focus. So I make sure that if there's anything like that, if I know that there's a potential for me to get distracted, I just won't trade. And the market's going to be open the next day, right? And if it doesn't, we have a much bigger problem on our hands, right? So, this is one of the things that you have to account for also inside of as part of your morning routine, is making sure that you minimize distractions. And I'm looking at my notes here. I did take some notes to try to be somewhat organized, even though it didn't come out in the most organized way as I possibly could. But that pretty much, that kind of covers the gamut of, the things that I pay attention to in terms of being or having a routine, or, how you show up in the mornings or before you start trading, right? Because not everybody trades in the morning. Some people trade in the afternoon or in the evening. So the same stuff applies. How you show up is going to affect what you do in your business of trading. So speaking of business of trading, I need to get some numbers. Let me go ahead and knock that out. So what have we seen so far as I'm looking at these numbers? So we did get a little bit of follow through from our overnight session low, and this wholesale has just been conducting business. They dropped inventory down to 210, and we are in a phase now to where we're what is the term that I use? We're marking up supply, and we're marking up inventory back inside of that overnight session range, kind of at the lows of that overnight session range. I have that marked on my charts as a blue zone, and we're starting to push back inside of that range. So, you know, it looks like, you know, they're actually playing. I would say they're playing both sides this morning. But with all that being said, there are plenty of opportunities to take advantage of that on the retail side, from my perspective. Oh, that messed it completely up. What in the world? See, my computer is being weird this morning. I'm trying to log my numbers, my volume, and it's just okay. No, that was me. User error. Never mind. That's another thing that kind of goes into morning routine. So if you show up late and you're not, you know, you don't have, if I don't go through that my routine like I'm supposed to, a lot of times that could cause me to make a lot of mistakes. You know, I like to talk about my computer making mistakes and stuff a lot of times, but sometimes it's me, right? And if I'm not staying consistent and I'm not showing up to my desk the way that I'm supposed to, then that can lead me to make a lot of mistakes. And then once I get in that mistake mode, then I'm prone to start scrambling, and it just, a lot of times it just gets worse the more I try to force myself to get back on the right side of things. So what I've learned to do is, if I start seeing myself making a lot of mistakes, I just sit back. A lot of times I may even be done for the day, but I'll just take a break, and I may even get back to my breath, get back to my breathing, just try to be neutral. I might switch to sim. I want to make sure I neutralize myself. Again, everything for me in the morning is about being neutral and consistent. So I want to make sure I neutralize myself, and to where I can be focused and clear-minded and get back at it if I still have time within my trading window to make some more trades. Because most of the time, if I try to force it and I keep trying to force it, it's just going to get worse, and I'm going to keep digging a hole. Very rarely does me forcing the issue help me get out of whatever little funk I'm in at the moment. So then we got a supply response at 310 being held up by automation. Right now, automation is kind of sitting above 290. Hovering PR -1. The overall trend or the overall bias is still short. So in order for them to move this market to higher prices, like significantly, there's a lot of what happened in that opening, that first, what was it, like a 30-minute period? Yeah, that first 30-minute period. We can expect, if we keep climbing higher, we can definitely expect some participation above where we are right now, inside of that range, because we're at the low of that range, and we're starting to push inside of it. But of course, price never just move directly from point to point. Price moves in an up-down fashion, what a lot of people would call chop, right? So I would definitely, from here, if we keep climbing higher, would expect some supply responses And actually, it'll be interesting to see where it goes from here. So with all that being said, I'm going to go ahead and close up my shop for today. Appreciate everybody for coming through. Be on the lookout for that video later on where I go deeper into how to, my theory for, taking losses quickly or cutting your losers quickly. And I hope you have a good rest of your day, good rest of your week. We'll see you on Friday. Trade it easy.